Sir, the Federation does have enemies. We must seek them out.
Oh, yes. That's how it starts. But the road from legitimate suspicion to rampant paranoia is very much shorter than we think. Something is wrong here, Mr. Wolf. I don't like what we have become.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Fully Functional TNG Podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are huge Star Trek nerds, and Dory is a Star Trek novice, and we are taking her on her first journey through Star Trek The Next Generation. Today we're discussing the Season 4 episode, The Drumhead. Original air date, April 27th, 1991, and as always, we'll take it to Dory for the recap.
Okay, I liked this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's not the recap though. Okay, so we start off, there's a Klingon, oh god, what did I write? Exobiologist on the ship for a few weeks as part of a scientific exchange program. They suspect that this Klingon was involved in a security breach and in the possible sabotage of the warp drive. Honestly, if you played a drinking game of every time someone said sabotage or saboteur, you'd be dead.
Yeah.
You'd just fully die of alcohol poisoning. Okay, so the Klingon's name is Jadan, which honestly, I kept wanting to call him Jordan the entire time. I don't know why. I kind of want to call him Jordan for this episode also. I mean, it would be on brand, I suppose, calling someone not by their name.
Yeah.
No, I'll call him Jadan. I don't think I'm pronouncing it correctly anyways, but what else is new? Okay. So, what the fuck did I write? Oh, okay, Riker. Okay, I was like, Riker Leica. Riker's like the computer said you were there and there are receipts.
Oh, yeah.
Of like, oh yeah, this is basically like an interrogation. I should have started with that. So the Romulans got these plans like a week after like this guy got them basically. Oh, and there was also an explosion that disabled the warp drive, so they're kind of like not really going anywhere. Well, they are going somewhere. What am I talking about? They just can't go anywhere fast. Mm-hmm. So Troy says that she can't read him, but like he's hiding something. Then I just wrote, this bitch, leave Worf alone, but I don't remember what this was about. oh, it's Jadan. He starts talking shit about Worf. And he's like, just so you know, like, I know about your dad or whatever, or wait, no. Tells Worf he knows about Worf's dad, but like what they say about him, not the truth. Mm-hmm. And he's like, listen, I know people. And Worf, if you like get me to a shuttle, I will use my connections and do shit or whatever. But Worf does not fucking play.
Worf literally assaults a man for trying to bribe him.
I love it. Sorry. I'm like, oh God. I don't love it. Like, okay. I don't love assault, but I like that Worf was like, abso-fucking-lutely not, and how dare you for suggesting it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Worf, he elbows him and hits him in the face. And I just wrote, like, Worf would do that. # Team Worf. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then we meet, there's retired Admiral Nora Sati, who's obviously going to be referred to as Nora Sati. This is why she's going to be exclusively referred to as Nora.
Yeah.
She was the one who investigated, whose investigation exposed the alien conspiracy against Starfleet 3 years ago. And I was like, is this the Dexter one? Is this the Dexter and Greg's conspiracy?
You know, I don't remember which one they're referring to.
Because, like, that was a conspiracy 3 years ago.
So, yes, that is what they're referencing. However,
yes!
That doesn't really line up, I don't think.
Yeah,
because
it was 3 years ago, because it was at the end of season 1.
No,
yeah, but
not
it was
the timing.
Like, it wasn't her that revealed it.
Yeah, it was them.
Yeah.
Like, maybe there was, like, some trials about it afterwards or something, but, like, that's not anything that we heard about, and like that's fine. It's just I feel like it's a little bit of
They retconned.
Yeah.
yeah. Which
How
I mean
dare
that's
they.
that's okay. I am glad that they're making references to things in the past anyway. They do that several
Me
more times in this
too.
episode.
I got so excited. Yeah. Okay. So Nora's look is we meet her. She's wears like a long red cloak and it looks pretty cool. So we meet her posse, her group. One is Sabin. We're not doing his last name, sorry, gang. He's from Beta Z and he's her aide, but then she's also got an assistant named Nellen. And sorry, but Nellen looks surprisingly on trend, if I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Like she had like okay, the makeup kind of trendy now, like the little space buns, wearing like matching like outfit, like jacket to outfit. Like it was a look. I didn't hate it, but also like weirdly on trend-ish. And then I wrote, looks like O'Brien is off work again. Someone likes to take off a lot of time.
In all fairness, this episode was supposed to be a cost-saving episode. Originally, the what do you call it? Originally, the studio was like, "Hey, why don't you guys do another clip show?" And apparently, both Rick Berman and oh God, what's his name? Showrunner Michael Piller both said like hell to the no to that, and
this was good.
yeah,
I
and
like
so
what they did here.
they got a hold of one of their writers, Jerry Taylor, and tasked her with adapting an idea that I think it was I think it was Ronald D. Moore came up with the original concept for it, and she turned it into a script. And Jerry Taylor is well known throughout Star Trek. She was a writer on the series for a good 15 years or something like that. It was a very long time. She stayed all throughout Voyager, through most of Voyager, for better or worse. But anyway, yeah. So it was supposed to be a cost-saving script, and it's funny because in the end, this ended up being the script that Jerry Taylor was most proud of throughout all of her work on Star Trek.
I mean, I enjoyed this a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so Picard is bringing Nora around, and he shows her like they can't go into the engine area because the radiation is still too high. So Data mentions that there's 49 hours until they can until the radiation goes down. So I was like, yes, countdown, thinking this would be something. It wasn't, which was disappointing because I love a countdown. So they look up, there's a visual log of the explosion, and basically it's just like everything was fine until it wasn't, which is truly wild. And they're lucky, like nobody was killed, but there's a couple people in sickbay. So okay, this is wild. Worf is able to figure out how Jadan got the info off the Enterprise, and this plan is so over the top elaborate and like absolutely nonsense. I had to just like write down what Worf said because the short version is it's basically it's like if an EpiPen and a USB were one.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Worf says that he used a hypo syringe, and I just wrote looks like the sonic screwdriver from Doctor Who.
It's a needle.
Yeah. So he was able to he uses this hypo syringe to treat his Balthazar syndrome.
Balthazar.
Yeah, sure. And so it's been fitted with an optical reader. Yeah. Specially modified to read data from Starfleet isolinear chips. Basically, a secret USB.
Yeah.
So he can extract digital info from the computer, encode it in the form of amino acid sequences, and transfer these sequences into fluid in the syringe. Then he injects someone. The info would be carried in their bloodstream in the form of inert proteins. listen,
Yeah.
do what you will with that information.
The thing is like the
wild.
That's actually not total bullshit. Because basically what they're saying is, like, they're writing the information on your DNA, which is technically possible. Because your DNA is just, like, code. So it's basically just insert some genetic code that, when decoded the right way, will give you the information you're looking for.
I can't wrap my head around that, so we're not going to touch on that right now. We can get back to it maybe later, but we don't have enough time for me to go into how much this messes with me, because we still got to finish. I'm only just started the recap.
Fair enough.
Okay. We'll come back to that, and people can listen to me lose my mind for another episode. Okay, so Nora is pretty impressed with this, and she's like, Worf, I'd like you to conduct the interrogation. And, God, this is so early on. I wrote, she likes Worf, which I like. God, how naive, how young and naive I was at the beginning of this episode. What the fuck did I... Oh, okay. I couldn't read it, but I wrote Worf Goodwife's Jadan. It's like, what? I couldn't remember my own reference. He basically are just famous lawyers from pop culture, Jadan. And Jadan actually admits to sharing the info with the Romulans, and he calls Klingon blood water. And he's like, yeah, but I did all that shit, but I didn't have anything to do with the explosion. But Nora's Betazoid aide, Saban, is like, yeah, he's like telling the truth, but there's someone else also. It's like, okay. So Nora's dad was
basically what it means is that the Klingon guy he says that he's telling the truth about not being involved in the explosion, which means that there's someone else who is a saboteur.
In theory.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, Nora's dad was like a famous judge who Picard read about at the Academy. This comes back later, but it's like fine. So Nora talks about like, man, Nora had an interesting childhood. I don't envy her. Mm-hmm. She talks about that she had dinner time debates with her siblings, which is like, wow. Does her family still talk? Does she talk to any of her siblings? Because I imagine not at this point.
Yeah, the way it's described, I'm like, it does
not sound fun.
Yeah, her dad would present a topic and make her and her brothers debate with like a stopwatch, and he wouldn't let them leave till he thought they'd like thoroughly debated like it to the fullest potential. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds fucking psychotic. Yeah, like, yep. Like that's not the fun story you think it is.
Yeah. Also, she was like, yeah, I wasn't really psyched to work with Picard.
Well, it sounds a little bit like something that somebody who's doing homeschooling would do. So, like, yeah. I do kind of get it. I'm not saying, like, oh, homeschooling's awful, that sort of thing. I'm just saying that it sounds like that sort of thing.
Yeah, but that doesn't sound like a class that they were doing. It sounds like it was at dinner.
Yeah,
which is like,
I mean, it sounds like there is context divorced from the story, I think.
Yeah, but I just imagine like being forced to debate like every day until like, and you're not allowed to stop until he's satisfied. Like that's
pretty fucked.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked.
Like your food would go cold so quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so then also Nora tells Picard that she wasn't like initially psyched to be partnered with him because she's always worked on her own because like her dad, I think his name was Aaron. He was like, yeah, working with people is basically like dead weight. Mm-hmm. I was like, wow. But she wants Picard to know she's now happy to work with him. So thanks, Nora. Oh, okay. So then like Saban is in the conference room with Worf, and he's like, by the way, Worf, I heard about your dad, but don't worry. I think you're cool. Mm-hmm. It's all fine. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then cut to questioning Dr. C. And it's like, how dare all of you? Mm-hmm. I know they're just trying to get information. They're not like accusing her, but I was like,
yeah.
how dare everybody.
Must protect her.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So then after they're done with Dr. C, she goes to the door and there's a young person with brown hair. And I legit thought that was Wes for a second.
He does look kind of similar.
It just like from the like just at the door, once he came close, I was like, oh, yeah, that's not Wes. But for like a good second, I thought it was him.
Well, we don't really see like guys that young on the ship that often, so
yeah, that's true.
And like the only other person we know that age is Wes.
Yeah. Okay, so then this Wes imposter no kidding, is Simon Tarsis. He's going to be called Simon. It doesn't matter. He's a medical technician, and he's the one who was one of the technicians who was giving Jadan his injection, and then Saban says that he's hiding a big lie, so obviously he's guilty. So Picard is just like, Kate, we're not fucking jumping to conclusions just because you have a feeling. That's pretty fucked. And Nora's like, but what would you do if it was Troy? And Picard's like, okay, yeah, but also no. Because that's still pretty, like, fucked. And Nora wants to restrict Simon's movements and keep an watch on him. And Picard's like, you're going off of an intuition. You're not going off of any actual proof. You just decided that something's sketchy with this guy. And, like, this lie could be anything. Like, you're automatically just assuming it's related to this.
Yeah, he could be, like, cheating on his girlfriend and just fucking guilty. Like, you know?
Yeah. Also, I do want to note the way that Nora says saboteur is very funny to me. She just, like, I think it's, like, I don't know, she just, like, saboteur. Like, she just, like, says it.
Very
it
fancy.
Sounds very funny. Yeah, I love it, though.
She has, like, kind of a...
It's like an English accent, but also a transatlantic accent at the same time.
Well,
she was a
it's like
famous,
a mid-Atlantic.
Yeah. She was a famous Hollywood actress in like the 1940s and 50s.
I recognized her name, Gene Simmons, the other Gene Simmons, the other.
I was gonna say Gene Simmons, not that Gene Simmons. Yeah, she won an Oscar for something back in the 40s. Yeah,
good for her. She was actually she was great in this.
Oh yeah, I actually personally felt like she
this.
stole nearly every scene that she was in. Because like her character was so personable, and that's not something that you often see from admirals when they come back on board the ship.
Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite like guest star.
Yeah, me too. She does fantastic
appearances we've had so far. She was pretty great. Okay, so Geordi and Data have been investigating the hatch explosion, and they find out that submicron fractures in the metal casing. Basically, it's been a breakdown of the atomic cohesive structure caused by simple neutron fatigue. So it was like basically like faulty stuff.
That's exactly
there
it.
wasn't like there was no conspiracy. There was nothing going on.
Yeah, I think it was just like a fancy way for them to say that the piece that broke had metal fatigue.
Yeah.
So like it was already kind of a weak component.
Yeah, so they said like when they were at the McKinley space station, that hatch was installed with an undetectable defective piece. But Nora really wants a fucking conspiracy. She's just really convinced something is still going on. Okay, so they're gonna do another hearing, and oh my, there's like a crowd, and it is kind of fucked. And I wrote, Nora is like honestly giving bad vibes right now. This is real shifty. This is weird. And then I was like, is Riker going to be a lawyer again? And then, yes, he was a lawyer again. Yeah. Riker gets to lawyer again.
Unfortunately, he doesn't really get to do much with that, but...
Yeah, he gets to do a little bit of whispering.
Yeah.
There is a very good reason for that. And the reason is that Jonathan Frakes is directing this episode.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. He did a great job.
It's his second episode directing.
Oh, damn. This was a good one for him because Okay.
You'll notice that he's a good director. He directs a lot of the good director.
Yeah. Okay. So Nora then questions Dr. C about Simon, and Dr. C is like blatantly, she's like not having any of this. She's like, no, this is like normal. Simon did everything normal. This is like what the fuck? And this is why I love Dr. C, because she's just like, the fuck is happening? You guys are, it's ridiculous.
It's like none of what you're asking is relevant.
And so I can't remember what the context was this, but Nora was like, oh, if it's so innocent, why don't you name names? And I just wrote, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what it was. She was saying like, I don't remember what the context of that was.
Well, she was asking if she'd seen Tarsus outside of sickbay, and like she's like, yeah, I guess maybe at like 10 forward. Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's Jadan with Simon with a group.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And she was like, "Oh, so who else was there?" And she was like, "What does that matter? It was like a group and it was innocent." And then she's like, "Well, if he's innocent, why don't you name names?" I remembered. So, okay, Picard is like, "Listen, shit or get off the pot. Make your point because this is fucking getting stupid." And then Saban just comes in real hot and he fucking lies and he's like, "Listen, we have concluded that the hatch explosion was on purpose. It's part of the conspiracy." And like, we know that's not true. And that's like, honestly, actually, I could do a drinking game with this episode purely with the number of times I wrote "this bitch" in my notes. I'll count it up later. But oh yeah, so Saban like calls Simon a liar because his grandfather was maybe a Romulan rather than a Vulcan.
He was definitely a Romulan. He does like flat out admit that.
Yeah.
I don't know where he got that info, but I think there's one thing that the episode doesn't really make super clear, unfortunately, and that's that Picard seems to hone in on the fact that they're discriminating against Simon because his paternal grandfather is Romulan, which is definitely like the right move to question that. But some of the things that he's saying end up leading him to believe that that's why he's in trouble. But no, he's in trouble because he lied about it, which is the problem. Like, it's the actual only problem. It does bother me a little bit that the episode technically deals directly with racism and doesn't really acknowledge that.
Yeah, because also, like, I was going to get into this later, but since we're talking about it, why are they asking about your race on your Starfleet application?
That's like, I wrote. I was like, why do you need your family tree? I'm like, why is that required when joining Starfleet?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the...
That's so weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the laws were at this point, but like maybe this was before that was like illegal to ask on a job application or whatever. Like, what
is that even like, are they even allowed to do that now?
It could be asking about family and like your family's birthplaces, because that's something that's super common with things like with like applications to move to another country and whatnot. They ask about your family history and like where your parents were born and stuff like that, and like it is a little weird.
But why do they need to know where their grandparents are from?
Yeah, like,
I don't know.
Immigrating, that makes a little bit more sense to ask that kind of stuff, but this is like, although I guess they do ask on your like college application, but I think that's
true, yeah.
That's more for like grants and stuff, I think. But yeah, did he was he like not entitled to a certain loan because he's Romulan and not Vulcan?
Yeah,
actually,
although they don't have money, so
I mean, maybe some of that has to do with like diversity placement and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems weird that they would like that you would be expelled from Starfleet for lying about your like racial heritage.
You know what bugged me more about that, actually? And this is only the first time that I've realized this upon watching the episode again, but there is a big flaw with that even coming up, and that's that when what's his name, Betazoid guy takes
Saban.
that, like he asks that in the first place, it's out of left field. Like he's just saying, so yeah, you were born on Mars and your paternal grandfather is Vulcan. Yeah, and Why are you asking that?
No, he was asking that in order to get him to lie so that he could catch him in a lie. Because he already...
so, like, that's a truthful thing? Is what you mean? No, because he asked that the very first time that Simon Tarsus sat down. That was the second question he asked after he asked his name.
Maybe. It might have been to hint at some racial bias because the guy Simon Tarsus, his ears are like... They made them look like they're halfway between Vulcan and human ears.
That's true, yeah.
So maybe he just, like, he's, like, suspicious because his ears are, like, you know... like potentially Romulan-esque,
Vulcan-esque. He's a little bit of a demon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's possible.
But yeah, I think it's bullshit that, like, okay, I can maybe understand asking about, like, on your college application, your ethnicity and stuff, because I think they do that for, like, statistic purposes for grants and stuff, although they don't have money in the future, so you don't need grants. Whatever. There can be some logic to it, but I don't think that it's expulsion worthy. Like, I don't think you should get kicked out of Starfleet because you lied that you were actually Romulan and not Vulcan.
I mean,
that
he would definitely
dumb.
Get in trouble.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, I don't know why, though.
I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying that he would.
Yeah, maybe get in trouble, although I also don't... it's like, who the fuck cares?
Dude, Starfleet's weird.
Yeah, I know. But that's also, like I'm saying, like, this is an issue I have with Starfleet. Like, first of all, I don't know, you shouldn't be asking that to begin with. Like, unless it's like, you know... write down what cultural practices, you know, need accommodations or whatever the fuck. Like, that's the only reason.
Yeah, but even that's a little out there. Like asking about, like, things that you need, like what kind of accommodations you need, that's fine. But yeah, I agree. Like, connecting that to wherever your grandparents born is a little off.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. This whole situation is just, like, icky. And they don't really... Yeah, they don't, like... I understand from, like, a 1991 perspective, like, maybe they wouldn't have thought to go into it this deeply, and probably the writer's room is not very diverse, so might not have taken that into account.
I think that's a very good point.
Okay, so...
Sorry.
I do want to get back into my recap. We still got a lot to go. This is a lot happened in this episode. Okay, so so Riker then whispers to Simon to not answer, and so Simon's like, "I'm not going to answer because my answer may incriminate myself." And I'm like, "Why would that? That sounds bad. Like, Riker, why?" I don't know if, like, that might be the official thing.
That's
but
okay. So that's inspired.
But to me, that sounds guilty.
Yeah, that's the Star Trek version of pleading the fifth.
Yeah.
Okay, because it just, like, sounds bad.
Yeah, and the entire point of it, because this is how it works in the United States as well, but the entire point of it is that if you are, like, tricked into into a line of questioning that would incriminate you unfairly, then that's when you're supposed to plead the fifth, because it's like, okay, I understand where you're going with this. You are trying to trick me into admitting guilt for something I'm not guilty of by implying something else. So it's meant to be...
I know the concept. I just think this wording makes it sound very guilty.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, when they talk about the Federation Constitution and whatnot, it's all very much based in, like, Americanism. So
yeah, because when you plead the fifth in the States, you have to, like, that's basically the thing you have to say as well. Like, I plead the fifth, like, because the answer may serve to incriminate me. So, like, yes, it makes you sound very guilty, but that's a real thing. Which
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No. It sounds very. It didn't help his case, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I don't
like-
necessarily think that Riker was wrong for giving him that advice. It is unfortunate that it makes you sound guilty as fuck, though.
Yeah, and especially with this crowd,
Yeah.
with like Nora. Oh, she's gonna eat that up. Okay, so then Worf gives out assignments to his security team, and Picard wants to speak to him, and he's like, "This looks like a Drumhead trial," and at the same time as Worf, I also said I don't understand what that means. So this is what Picard says a Drumhead trial is. 500 years ago, military officers would end up down. Would upend a drum. My God, I can't write. Would upend a drum on the battlefield. They would sit on it and dispense summary justice, decisions made quickly, punishment severe, appeals denied. Those who came to a drumhead were doomed. So Worf kind of goes Team Nora, and I was just like, Worf, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
Worf's a conservative.
But he comes back in the end. Worf comes through.
Okay, to be fair, when he comes back in the end, she snaps back at him. Or, no, sorry, the other guy snaps back at him with some real, real bad shit.
Ugh,
but, I mean,
yeah.
keeping in mind, this episode's story is very much inspired by many things in American history, but at this point, the most recent infamous thing would have been McCarthyism, which is something that the writers grew up learning about and understanding was like an absolutely massive controversy.
Oh, so Worf is like, talking about Simon, he's like, he refused to answer questions about his Romulan grandfather, and Picard goes, "That is not a crime, Worf," and I loved it.
I do
like,
like that
Picard-
he snaps at him for that, because
Yeah.
Worf deserves
That
to
line-
be shut down for that.
The delivery of that line is so good. Honestly, Picard gets some good moments in this episode.
Oh yeah.
I wrote, "Oh damn, this scene, like between Picard and Worf, this was an intense scene."
Yep.
And because Worf is like, "Look, the Federation has enemies," and Picard's like, "Yeah, but that's like a slippery slope." So Picard says, "Oh yes, that's how it starts. But the road from legitimate suspicion to rampant paranoia is very much shorter than we think. Something is wrong here, Mr. Worf. I don't like what we have become." I was like, "Oh damn." So Picard then speaks to Simon and asks him to tell him about himself. It's just like one-on-one. And just real quick, play Two Truths and a Lie. Just icebreaker games. So Simon does his whole monologue of how he wanted to join Starfleet since he was young, and when he was assigned the Enterprise, it was the happiest day of his life. And he didn't apply to the academy because he didn't want to go to school for another 4 years, and like, that's fair.
Yeah. He wanted to get
oh.
out there as soon as possible, so he decided to be like just
Because, Picard's like, "Why didn't you go to school to become an officer?" And he's like, "I just wanted to get out there, bro."
Yeah.
This is also why I put in my notes, why does this Federation need a family tree?
Yeah.
So then, like, Nora is, like, hot on the trail. She wants Simon's friends from school and his family on Mars investigated. And Picard's like, "Listen, you're taking this way too fucking far. Like, there's still no proof Simon has, like, done anything bad." And, Nora honestly sounds kind of culty at this point. She has no friends, hasn't seen family in years. She has no home. She just lives on Starship. Because she has a cause. Her dad said, this is like wild. She's like, her dad said that the United Federation of Planets is the most remarkable institution ever conceived, and it is her cause to make sure that this extraordinary union be preserved. Oh, she says to Picard, "I can't imagine why you were trying to block this investigation. There have been others in the past who've doubted me. They came to regret it." And I was like, oh shit. The way she said that they came to regret it was haunting and threatening. It was a very good line delivery.
It's
But Picard...
it's interesting how like deliberate they went with the implications here, because like all of that there that she did is basically her displaying ultra nationalism towards the Federation, and that's exactly what motivated McCarthyism.
Yeah.
I also noticed for once the music in this episode because, man, it got, like, intense.
Oh.
When Nora got more and more, like...
Dory.
it was, a good time.
I have bad news for you.
Uh-oh, what?
Well, the music in
Why?
this episode was the final time that this guy, Ron Jones, would contribute to music within Star Trek. He was fired soon afterwards because
shit.
he apparently talked back to the producers one too many times about disagreeing about how to approach things. They did not like his music generally because it was too...
Too
what's the
good,
word?
basically.
I mean, essentially, yeah.
Because it stood out too much, basically.
That's right. They wanted music that was more subdued, and the way that he approached writing for the series, he had done music for 44 episodes at this point, which is a little bit less than half of them. And his music, the way that he approached writing was he wanted every time that he scored an episode to seem like this is its own movie. This is separate from the rest of the fact that it's connected to another TV show and whatnot. I am scoring as if this is its own thing, and it deserves to stand out because of that. And they didn't like that. And it's too bad because he won a goddamn award for his work on Best of Both Worlds, because he did the soundtrack for that.
Yeah.
Well, he did a great job for this. I
Yes, he
actually
did.
noticed the music for once.
It was his last contribution, unfortunately.
Well, he went out with a bang because
did.
Yeah.
this
did.
was really good.
Yeah, they basically didn't like that you could notice the music.
Oh, see, I think that's a good thing because
Yeah.
it just, like, added to it. Like, it was, like, atmospheric. Like, the tension was really high, and so the music got more intense, and it was, like, added, like, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Picard is fucking done with Nora. He's like, these hearings will stop, but Nora is like, nope. There will be a billion fucking more hearings if I have anything to say about it, and I will investigate every fucking person on the Enterprise. And also, she's been in contact with Starfleet the entire time, and her friend Thomas Henry is about to join us for more hearings. And Picard goes, Admiral, what you're doing here is unethical, it's immoral, I'll fight it. And then Nora goes, do what you must, Captain, and so will I. It's like, ah! Intense.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, now Picard has now been summoned. He's been served.
Yeah.
To it's funny, they're like, Picard, you're being you're summoned to report tomorrow morning, and then cut to the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we meet in quotes Admiral Thomas Henry. This man gets the role of a lifetime. He gets 1 million shots. He gets to sit there and not say a single word and then leaves. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he's the
Good for
only
him.
admiral who ever gets his own shots, but not a single line of dialogue.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Honestly, this man did everything with what he had to do, and he was just,
Yeah.
high fives all around.
If it's a cost-saving episode, I guess they just didn't want to pay him SAG.
Ugh, it was amazing.
That could be.
So then they're like, okay, Picard's like, I'd like to say something. And they're like, no, you can wait till later. And he's like, actually, I'm going to use the rules against you and make my statement now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, why should we be judging people based on their bloodlines? Because that's fucking weird.
Yeah.
And then and
and-
she's like, Picard, do you know the Prime Directive? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, we don't. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Zing.
But this speech that Picard gives is like one of the premier Picard speeches. Like,
It's
this
so
is,
good. He
yeah.
gets his monologuing is so good. But then it's I had a good laugh at this. It's revealed that Picard has violated the Prime Directive 9 times. And I'm like, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
They're like, the Prime Directive. Picard's like, I hear you, I see you, but also
Yeah.
okay. Okay, then I wrote again, this bitch. Okay, so they're going to go over all the reports from all the times that he violated the Prime Directive, and then they'll have more questions. And then, then I wrote, this bitch again. Remembering T'Pel, who was the Vulcan, it was the Romulan, who was pretending to be a Vulcan, and the Enterprise gave her a ride, and like I think this is one, like I remember her, didn't she pretend to die, but then she was on the other ship,
Yeah.
Yes.
and it was so the Romulans could be like, you killed me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember that episode. Nice callback. And then Nora's like, you guys delivered a spy to her people after she got a bunch of information. Did you try to do anything to get her back? And Picard's like, no. And then she's like, meh. And then Worf is like, Picard did everything he could because otherwise, like, the Romulans could have destroyed the Enterprise. And then this bitch is like, where were you, Worf, when the traitor was on board? And I was like, this bitch. I wrote this bitch
let's be
so
perfectly
many fucking
fair.
times this page.
She is this is like the first time in TNG at least that Worf has been called out for running security pretty shoddily on the ship, and like she's got a point.
No, I loved this. Honestly, this scene was so fucking good.
Well, it doesn't help when Worf's suggestions get turned down at every fucking opportunity.
Yeah. Everybody likes to shit on Worf, but yeah, I just like this was such a good scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
so then,
it's like the whole thing is like, because when shit like this happens, it's like you never think that it's going to be targeted at you, and this is supposed to be like a speed run of like, you know, oh, you think this can't happen to you? Well, fucking
guess what? It is.
Yeah.
Okay, so then Saban's like, don't you think it's questionable judgment of a security officer whose father was a Romulan collaborator? And then Worf is like, looks like he's ready to fucking explode on this guy. And I was like, honestly? But Picard's like, Worf, don't.
Worf has
It's
punched
not
people
worth
for less.
it. Yeah.
And this is especially after he said, like, you know, you have my complete confidence, and like, you know, I think you're okay. You know.
And then I wrote, how fucking dare you? Nora really goes for the absolute jugular. She was like, so Picard, how you doing since you became a Borg?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god. That's, she's like, so she's like, wow. So basically, you're basically to blame for 39 ships and 11,000 deaths. I'm like, oh my god. She's like, listen, she questions his actions, his choices, his loyalty. I'm like, oh my god. And Picard the whole time, cool as a cucumber. He's like, you can almost see he's like his jaw is like gonna break off, but like he's very like calm, doesn't like show reactions, just as like Patrick Stewart was incredible in this episode. But like you can see it's like affecting him, but he's not showing it at the same time. It's like, it's so good.
You get a little bit of it in his first answer to it when she says, "Have you fully recovered from your experience with the Borg?" And he like pauses for a second, and he's just like, "Yes, completely." And you can see that he's just like, I am going into my zone. I am. Yeah,
he's going to his happy place. He's picturing a beach. He's picturing an archaeology dig.
There you go.
His safe place. So then Picard. Oh, this got fucking crazy. Oh my god. So then Picard uses Nora's dad's words against her, and he starts talking about like, oh, the first time any man's freedom is trodden on, we're all damaged. And then Nora's like, how fucking dare you? And she's like, she just goes, oh my god. She like loses it on him. It's incredible. And Picard does like not bothered. She's like yelling that she's like, he's corrupt. He's corrupted the Federation and undermined our very way of life. She will expose him, and she's brought down bigger men than him. And then Admiral Thomas Henry just walks out. Incredible timing. He just is like, later days. Bye.
Yeah.
Doesn't say a word. It's incredible. So then Saban's like, because, Nora's like shouting at this point. She's like on the verge of tears. It's real fucking intense. The music is booming in the best way possible. And then Saban's like, maybe we take a recess and continue this later. And I wrote, come on, Picard, give us nothing in the best way possible.
Yeah.
See, just nothing. It's so good. And then everybody leaves and Nora is in the room alone, and it is awkward and intense and oh shit. Okay. So then Worf goes to speak to Picard, and he's like, yeah, Thomas has ended the hearings, and Nora has left the Enterprise, because this was a bit of a shit show. So then Picard says, we think we've come so far. Torture of heretics, burning of witches is all ancient history. And then before you can blink an eye, suddenly it threatens to start all over again. And then Worf goes, I believed her. I helped her. I did not see what she was. And then Picard says, Mr. Worf, villains who twirl their mustaches are easy to spot. Those who clothe themselves in good deeds are well camouflaged. And then I think there's like a couple of lines in between, and then Picard says, but she or someone like her will always be with us, waiting for the right climate in which to flourish, spreading fear in the name of righteousness. I was like, wow, Picard, keep monologuing. This is like, keep going. Okay, so that's the end of my recap, but I would like to say I had a real breakthrough myself while taking my notes for this, because I initially started writing in the margins, and then I was like, no,
Let's use another page.
just use another page. And I did it.
We
I
love
started
growth
writing
here.
in the margins. Yeah,
Yeah.
listen, character development.
Yeah.
Someone's getting character development.
We love
So
growth on
I
this
was-
podcast.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I actually did start writing notes, and then I was like, I have more to say in my notes. I really should just start a new page. So I did, and I crossed out the other ones so I could read my illegible writing properly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this was like a pretty intense episode. Lots happened. I really liked this episode.
Yeah.
Everybody was like Picard was incredible in this. Yeah, Patrick Stewart was incredible. Gene Simmons was incredible. Like, this just...
Yeah, this is
Man.
truly one of the, like, highlights of the series. Like, this is one of the standout episodes of the series as a whole.
Yes,
know what this could be?
This one
This is-
often makes top 10 lists, and sometimes it even makes top 5 lists.
It's really good. This is also, it's like the battle of the rolled R's, because
Yeah.
both of them have like the accents where it just it rolls. It's so good. I can't do it, but the way they both say saboteur,
Yeah.
like,
Saboteur.
it's so good. Oh yeah, I think also the way Picard says conspiracy. There's like a roll or whatever to it. I don't know what it's actually called, but yeah. Yeah, this is like, okay, I had fun last time, but this was like a good episode.
Yeah.
This might be, we'll probably revisit this in our retrospective, because this is probably one of my favorites this season.
Yeah. And, like, this
This is
is
a real
like,
standout.
this is the type of episode that it's like, this is, like, why the series is as beloved as it is, because
Yes.
this is the kind of shit that they're capable of, and
And that they really excel at when they put their minds to writing it.
yeah, and it's like not every episode is like this, obviously, but like
Yeah.
a lot of episodes like have this kind of quality to it.
Yeah, this definitely like felt very cohesive, and one of the things I really liked with this is like we had the guest star, we had the like story, but like Picard was so, and even Worf were like very integrated into it in like a pretty like this is when they get it right, is like when they take the characters and integrate them into the main story, and they have like a guest star, but it's not about the guest star.
Yeah.
Like the guest star is part of the story, same as the main characters. So
Yeah,
like this is
they're-
like the perfect mix.
Yeah, the guest star
Of,
is
like-
is there to enhance the story of the main characters.
Yeah. Because this is like quite the journey for Picard. And
Like in this case, the guest star is kind of the antagonist of it.
Yeah.
oh
But you don't really realize that until you're further through.
yeah, honestly, I was like when she like switches and like you sort of when she's interrogating Simon, like you can sort of like, because initially she comes off really sweet and smart, and you're just
Yep.
like, okay, this is like nice old lady, but also like smart, and she'll like get shit done. But then it's like, oh no, she's like there's a lot else going on
Yeah.
in that brain of hers, and it's pretty fucked. Yeah, I just think like is such an interesting character, and I just wonder like how many, like I think this sets up for me like how many other like people have been wrongly convicted because of her like judgments that like because she obviously is renowned, like has made a name for herself, but we now know she like takes the narrative to get something just to like to fit with whatever like she deems acceptable.
Yeah, like how many times has she gotten away with what she was trying to do here?
And it was also really interesting that she like brought, instead of like getting like a random team or whatever, she wanted to bring back the team she'd worked with previously, because like they're on her side of like manipulating the truth. Like Saban was like right there with her, being like using his like abilities to their advantage, but not even to their advantage, but in a way to like manipulate and to use to lie and to create like a false narrative, because he's like, yeah, he's lying, but then he turned, but his Simon's lie had nothing to do with what he was like being interrogated for. And so then because he knew there's a lie, he could like poke with it further. And also, as Maggie said before, like chances are Saban knew about what's it called, Simon's real background, and so this is just like feels like extra assholey, because he's like going into this knowing what the lie is and pointing out, well, he's lying, and it's like it's not like, oh, in the moment he's figuring it out. Like he, like I think it's definitely plausible, like Maggie, your idea that he knew going into this what the lie is or something, or had an idea about it. So it just feels like such a setup.
Yeah. Well, he
that, like,
says, because Picard's like, you know, like this line of questioning like isn't relevant, and he's like, this has a point which you'll see in a moment, which is when he reveals that you know he's a Romulan. But yeah, like it's interesting too, because like, you know, she says that, you know, she prefers to work alone because like she doesn't want to rely on other people and stuff like that. But you kind of, at least I kind of get, by the end of the episode, I get the impression that it's like, it's more so she doesn't have anyone to challenge her or question her.
Yeah.
That's quite possible, yeah.
No one to hold her accountable. She just does what she, according to her plan, and there's no one to argue with. There's no one to, be like, you're wrong. It's just she has people who, on her team, who are like yes men, and they'll go along with her because they have the same kind of views. So,
but I mean,
having a partner,
it's also possible that she isn't like that. Like it could very much depend on what the investigation is and whatnot, because like she showed a lot of like ultra nationalism, and like that's really concerning. But it could be that is what brings out this kind of like rampant paranoia approach that she did.
well, she
because
said that she like doesn't usually work with other people.
That's true, yeah. But that I think that's more to because in the very first scene that she gets in the ready room, I don't know if you recall, but Picard starts asking her about what she knows, and like regarding what Starfleet Command knows, and she starts to answer the question, and then stops, and says what Starfleet Command knows or doesn't know is like for me.
I don't.
Like, so she catches herself partway through being about to answer that question.
I
think that just shows that in general she's a very closed off person.
I didn't interpret that as her catching herself and stopping herself, but more so of her trying to figure out how to word it, because she says that she resented being assigned to Picard, so she's trying to figure out how to politely word I'm not gonna fucking tell you because that's none of your business.
That's fair. I don't remember exactly what she started saying.
Yeah, I think
But-
either way, it gets the your point still stands.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And then later, when she went around his back to like have to talk to Starfleet, that was like, even Picard
Yeah.
was like, "Wait, what the fuck?" That was pretty messed up. And I guess she's working alone. She doesn't have to, you know, what is it like?
Report to him. I mean, she is. I think she
Or
is
well, not
technically
report to him.
higher
She
rank
doesn't have
than
to
him.
like. Well, like she doesn't have to
Yeah.
like confirm anything. Like, she
Yeah.
doesn't have to, be like, "Hey,
She doesn't
listen,
need his permission.
Yeah, she just like on her own can do whatever she wants, and
Yep.
and it's wild though because she's like, "Yep, I think we'll be good partners," and then she's like, "Fuck you and our partnership."
Yeah.
And the fact that like, man, I'm like worried also about like what her relationship was with her dad, because it seems like it was maybe very fucked because
Yeah.
the way that she reacted when like Picard said stuff that her dad said, and she's just like lost it.
Yeah.
What the fuck kind of relationship did she have with her dad?
Yeah, I mean, it's also like, if you look at it from her perspective, it's like she thinks that this person is a traitor to the Federation. Like she thinks that this person is going against the Federation, which she holds like super dear, and it's like the most important thing in her life, as she says, like because she has nothing else. And then she turns around. And then this person turns around and tries to use her father's words against her, like her father,
And her
who
father's
she
the one who like is like, "Oh, a federation is everything. It's the greatest institution ever conceived."
yeah,
The one who quite literally gave her these ideals.
yeah,
Yep.
and it's like, you piece of shit, you. This is her perspective, right? It's like, you piece of shit, you traitor, are sitting there, like using the words of like an amazing patriot and my beloved father to defend yourself. How disgusting.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, she tries to strike at his personal grief. So
Oh yeah. I'm not
he
like
strikes right back.
Yeah, and the thing is like it's a brilliant move by Picard, honestly. Like
Yes.
he knew that would set her off, you know, and he knew that he had to show everyone there, like, that she was, you know, that this was like a personal crusade, that this wasn't based in any sort of legitimate suspicion. All right, so is there anything else that we would like to talk about with this episode before I move on?
I know this is going to be a mistake. But I guess for sake of listeners' entertainment, I'm going to ask, can you explain how the fuck you can do the DNA info shit? How does this work? How can this be moderately plausible?
See,
Because science fiction.
yeah. The thing is that I don't fully understand it myself, so I've watched some videos about it. So basically, I think we've had this discussion too about how the current vaccines work, the sort of
But like, how do you
mRNA
share information in a like?
Well, so
religious-
the reason I'm bringing that up is because part of the way that works is changing the genetic code, or changing the genetic instructions of the virus in order to pass along information to your immune system. So we're sort of doing this already, where we can write information onto organic material in order to communicate with other organic material. So like the COVID
Sorry.
vaccine will
When when you said writing onto organic material, I just pictured like, you know, those like old timey books that are made out of skin.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty gross.
Yeah. But basically, yeah, like you can like DNA is kind of like computer code, you know, and you can code it with if you know how to code it, like you can code it with whatever information you want. And
But can you like send messages through a like this? Like that's
yeah, I mean that's what
Can
I'm
you
that's what I'm
really?
trying to explain is that like the vaccine is sending a message to your immune system, right?
yeah, but
So
I mean like
the-
in this particular case, like information that the Romulans can understand.
Yeah, but
How do-
the thing is that I'm saying like this concept is already a real world thing, so it stands to reason that in the future, there could be a way where they just they can sequence genetic information, right, to put in like the blueprints for the warp engine, right? And then the person on the other side, if they have that, they can decode it and get that information.
Now here's another question. So like, oh god, so how would like, I mean, logistics. Asking about logistics probably doesn't make a lot of sense right now, but hear me out. Would this like, okay, in theory, they like, you're injected with some data,
Yeah.
and then like,
Heh Tasha Yar
Would it-
was.
oh,
Sorry.
so like, okay, you have the information in your blood.
Yeah.
Is it like anywhere? Would you have to like take it like? Would it like how would that work? Would you have to like syringe it out? Would it have to be in a different place? Would it spread throughout your entire body? Would you just become information?
Well, that's
Or,
the
like-
thing is like what I'm surmising from this episode is that basically they put some benign DNA into your bloodstream, some sort of benign sequences, and then that basically just carries throughout your whole circulatory system. So then you just take a blood sample and
It has the information.
yeah.
Do you put it? I imagine just like they put it on the slide under the telescope. Oh my god, the microscope. Other way, and it just like like there's like a word.
No,
No,
it's
not
quite
like that.
Or they
It's basically
no, I'm
like-
joking. I know
so-
it's probably not like that. I
Okay,
assume
so-
they'd like
so Dory.
scan or something. I don't know how it would work,
Dory.
but I don't actually think it'll be words. But that would be really funny.
Yeah.
Dory. This was
Yeah.
conceived of in like this episode was conceived of in 1991. Okay. In 2012, a paper was published specifically describing the method of how they can do this right now.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Oh, so
Yes.
this is like this could be done right now.
Yeah.
Yes. So the message is not expressed as ones and zeros like binary because DNA is not ones and zeros. DNA is recorded in a series of it's interpreted in a series of 4 different characters. It's like A, C, G, and something. I think it's T.
Yeah.
And like every strand of DNA is considered one of these 4 characters. And with that, you can develop a code so that every 3 characters or every 4 characters represents a letter.
Oh.
And then what you would do is you would read the DNA by, yes, taking a sample, and you would look for an indication of where this sequence is, something that doesn't normally occur in DNA that would start the sequence. And you could extract the message that way and decode it. And the purpose of it is to hide information, as the episode implies, in people who may not even suspect that that they're carrying a message.
Cool. So something new to stress about.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't hurt you.
But-
It would be a couple of amino acids that wouldn't really do anything.
Yeah, but what's that syringe? Where's that syringe been? That's been.
I mean, I
stabbed
hope it's
in
been
me.
cleaned.
Yeah. I feel like I'd feel it. I hate needles.
Yeah, realistically they would probably have to inject quite a bit in order for this to spread about your body in quite the right ways. Because DNA is
God.
huge, so like decoding it would be very difficult, a very time-consuming process. But we can use technologies that we have now in order to make it easier. However, what it comes down to is that the technology was considered plausible 30 years ago, to the point where 10 years ago they were like, yeah, now we can do it.
Yeah.
Wild.
It's
Yeah.
amazing how many technologies are just like thought about in science and immediately picked up by science fiction.
Yeah. Because
That's
like
wild.
it doesn't matter what the code is. The point is that it's programmable. It's like we have the technology currently to program DNA to make it do things. So that's why this isn't like, it sounds like a lot of gibberish, and a lot of Star Trek is, but this specific thing is like actually plausible.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, because this is like technically possible now.
Oh my god.
For the record,
actually-
it's called steganography.
Yeah, and there's
The
also
science
like
of hiding information by transmitting secret messages through DNA.
and there's also
Wow.
this whole concept called it's not a concept, it's a thing. I don't know how to describe it, but Jeff, you know about CRISPR, right?
No.
Oh, CRISPR.
Maybe?
It's a whole process on how to basically like for genetic modification, basically.
Okay.
It's like this. I don't know enough off the top of my head to explain it potentially, but it's like
I'm not familiar with it by name, but I may be aware of it.
yeah, but it's an acronym, I believe. But yeah, it's basically
Okay.
like a really like really revolutionary like thing that's being developed and worked on right now, that basically like allows for easy genetic modification.
Cool.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
What kind of genetic modification? Like what are we, like, level are we talking about? Like what kind of things?
I don't know, but I think CRISPR was used in developing the COVID vaccine. Like I think it's part of the like mRNA process bullshit, maybe.
I'm
Yeah.
interested, but I'm also worried about looking it up because I'm scared.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just look up the quick Wikipedia thing. CRISPR, an acronym for Clustered Regularly Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeats, is a family of DNA sequences found in the genomes of pyrokaryotic organisms such as bacteria and archaea. Anyway, these sequences are derived from DNA fragments of bacteriophages that have previously infected pyrokaryote. They're used to detect and destroy DNA from blah blah blah. Hence, CRISPR. Okay, interesting. So it's like a naturally occurring thing.
Oh boy.
CRISPR are found in approximately 50% of sequenced bacterial genomes and nearly 90% of blah. Okay, Cas9 or CRISPR-associated protein 9 is an enzyme that uses CRISPR sequences as a guide to recognize and cleave specific strands of DNA that are complementary to the CRISPR sequence. Interesting. Okay, yeah, so basically it seems like it's this naturally occurring thing that they're using in order to be able to edit genes within organisms.
Wild.
Yeah, the development of the CRISPR-Cas9 genome editing technique was recognized by the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2020. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So basically it's like, yeah, it's a whole system they've developed to sort of help with editing genomes. And it's obviously a very complicated thing.
Yeah. Wild. That's
Yeah.
like a lot to
Absorb.
God, Yeah. Just like this DNA message. Yeah. Wild. Just when I think stuff couldn't be real, it's real.
Yep. Yep.
I was like, this doesn't make sense. This is all weird and wild. Nope. Not that weird and wild.
Yeah.
Just weird and wild enough.
Yeah. I don't blame you for thinking it's all bullshit, though, because there's a lot of shit that Trek just pulls out of its ass. But it's funny how much, like, it sort of becomes, like, this weird, like, sort of back and forth influence. Because, like, science fiction and Star Trek specifically will, like, they'll take inspiration from real science and make up some of their own stuff. And then people who are interested in science will be interested in the fake science and see if it's possible. And then sometimes they discover, oh, this is actually, like, this bullshit you just made up for a story, like, might actually be possible. And then, like, that gets integrated into future science fiction, and then they make up more of their own stuff, and, you know, it's sort of, it can go back and forth, you know?
Now I'm just thinking about, like, what other, like, espionage stuff did, like, is out there with, man, oh, this is gonna
Yeah,
gonna Carl Sagan myself.
Yeah, I'm sorry to give you
Thinking too
more to add to your anxiety list.
Oh, because it's, like, interesting, but it's also, like, man, we just don't know what people are doing, I guess, and
Yeah.
just what kind of sciencey shit people are doing in their labs, and
Well,
some could be for good, and some could be for some real questionable decision making. But man, well, if this is, like, plausible or, like, kind of doable, then, like, oh boy,
yeah.
what else
I mean,
is out there?
Yeah. The universe is a wild place.
Yep. Ugh. What's bigger, the universe or my anxiety?
That's like asking if God can make a burrito so hot that he couldn't even eat it.
Oh God.
You okay?
Yeah, you said God, and then I was like, oh God. I'm like, I didn't. Yeah, I'm like, this is, like, a lot.
Yeah.
My brain is going very fast right now. And I just needed to calm down a little bit. I'm not anxious. I'm fine. But it's just like, oh boy, what else is there? What other kind of, like, things that, like, we thought were, like, maybe not, but absolutely are plausible now that, like, we never would have thought would be real, and now it's totally could be real.
Well,
or real one day.
I think about that a lot. Of, like, like, when you think, like, back in history, it's like, oh man, they fucking used lead pipes, like, and, you know, did this shit. I'm like, I wonder what we're doing right now to fuck ourselves over that we don't even know about.
Yeah.
You know, is there going to be, like, something years down the line, like, decades down the line, just being like, holy shit, like, fucking...
Why did we think of that? Or that we should have done that.
Yeah, I can't believe, like... I don't know, I can't think of an example, but, like... Oh, man, didn't they know that fucking light bulbs make you fat? Or, like, whatever the fuck? Like, you know, some shit.
So, Dory, another example of Star Trek inspiring science, and this one I find very entertaining, is there is an astronaut named Mae Jemison. She was, I think, the first woman of color in space, which, I mean, good for her. And she was inspired by Star Trek to become an astronaut. And that's hilarious because years later she actually was offered a background guest appearance on Star Trek.
Oh, wild.
Yep.
Well, I guess, like, that in of itself, the fact that people can go to space now, or, like, 100 years ago, man, even, like, flight was, like, not even a thing. quite yet. And so, like, now that we've gone to fucking space, and now you can super chill go to space. Like, freaking Bezos is giving rides and shit. Like, man, who would have thought 200-300 years ago that was even possible? And now here we are, and like, God, what, like 100 years from now, what kind of nonsense is possible that in our day would like never occur to us? Or like that we never thought.
Yeah.
Oh God, we're definitely gonna go farther in space. That I know for sure. There's no way we're like ending it there, especially because they keep
but it's
showing.
slowing down a lot.
I found a more concise explanation of the CRISPR stuff.
Oh God.
Because I was on the CRISPR Wikipedia page of like the actual like sort of the genetic sequence, and now I found the Wikipedia page for the specific gene editing technique. So it says CRISPR gene editing is a genetic engineering technique in molecular biology by which the genomes of living organisms may be modified. It is based on a simplified version of the bacterial CRISPR-Cas9 antiviral defense system. By delivering the Cas9 nucleus complex with a synthetic guide RNA into a cell, the cell's genome can be cut at a desired location, allowing existing genes to be removed and or new ones to be added.
Oh God.
Yeah.
The idea that you can like play with that is truly wild.
It's basically like, okay, this is gonna sound really fucking stupid, but this is basically like the invention of like non-linear film editing. It's basically like, now they're able to like cut the bits and move them around or like add new shit in the middle.
Oh my God, this is like make a sim. Oh God. But real. Like one day, can you imagine? It's like Hunger Games style, not the actual competition, but like the universe where you can like change how you look and like with like that so easily. Do they do that in Hunger Games? I just remember them having some interesting looks. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But man, to be able to like customize yourself in the future, like genetically, ooh, I feel like that's like a setup for something bad.
Oh yeah. I think I even talked about that there was an episode of a show that I used to watch, which was like a law procedural, but set in the future. So they had all these like future issues to go with, and one of the episodes was a genetic modification is possible, and there was a doctor who refused to edit out the genes of a fetus that would potentially make them gay, and he was sued because of that. Yeah, so so yeah, and then there's also like there's movies like fucking Gattaca, that's all about
That's a great example. Yeah.
Where it's like,
I've never seen Gattaca.
Oh, it's really
but I
good.
think I confuse it. Okay.
With the Christian Bale one?
No, I don't know what that one is. I confuse Gattaca with Dog Day Afternoon.
That's bizarre.
Those are two very different movies.
I think he yells like Attica or something in the movie. And it always makes me think of Gattaca too, but I don't know what Gattaca is.
Okay, so the basic premise of Gattaca is that in the future, genetically modified people are the norm, and if you were born sort of naturally unedited, then you're sort of like an outcast, and your prospects are extremely limited because your sort of genetic profile, like any sort of conditions you are predisposed to or anything like that, like that's used against you and stuff. So the movie follows a guy who was born not genetically modified, and
played by who?
I forget. And he sort of strikes a deal with this super rich guy who was genetically modified, but he had an accident or something, and he's like disabled now. So he strikes a deal that he'll sort of take this guy's identity, and I forget what the guy gets back in return. But yeah, so he gets to live his life like the way he chooses, because he wants to like go into space or whatever. But he's just limited by his opportunity.
Oh, Ethan Hawke.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
IMDb
Ethan
this.
Hawke and
Or
Jude Law.
Vidal. Oh my God, Uma Thurman, Jude Law. Wild.
It's a great film.
Yeah, it's a really good movie.
Yeah,
Maya Rudolph is in it.
It is a bit
Blair
slow.
Underwood.
And very.
It's a very thinky movie.
Yeah.
Ernest Borgnine, Tony Shalhoub. Tony Shalhoub's a character that's named German. Okay. Wild. Okay.
Yeah, I always get Gattaca and what's that Christian Bale movie where he does like the gun fu?
Oh God, Equilibrium.
Yeah, I always get those two mixed up in my head.
That's weird. They feel nothing alike to me.
Yeah,
I
they
don't know that one
they
either.
they definitely are very different movies. But they're both sort of like future dystopias, and like Ethan Hawke and Christian Bale are like, you know, they don't look exactly alike, but they're similar enough. You know.
Yeah, that's true. They do have similar facial structures.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed how that film tackled that particular issue, but I still have I still have a soft spot in my heart for the way that Deus Ex: Human Revolution dealt with it.
Oh yeah, Deus Ex is yeah, the game's awesome.
Yep. Okay, we
Yes.
are running long.
Yeah,
so
we
should
definitely
move on.
now that was our genetic modification corner. So yes, let's move on to
Our biopunk corner.
yeah, our biopunk corner. Let's move on to favorite moments and things of that nature.
The final look, Picard's being interrogated. That was a great scene.
It's a long scene.
Yeah, it was intense. There was so many good lines though. Picard gets his monologues and shit were good. I loved when they're questioning Dr. C and she's like, I'm not fucking doing this. Like, she's like really just like not happy about this and is like, nope, I'm not giving you what you want. I love Dr. C. Oh, I just liked this episode. I liked the music.
Yeah.
I liked the music a lot. So thank you, guy who's... did you say his name earlier? I don't remember.
Yes, I did. It is Ron Jones.
Thank you, Ron Jones.
Mhm.
The music in this episode was great. Oh, I loved Thomas Henry just giving us nothing. It was incredible. Yeah, this is just a great episode. Picard, Picard's great. Yeah.
This season is a banger, and this episode is like the biggest banger of the season.
Yeah.
I think like I haven't loved this season, well, lately, other than the Q episode.
Yeah, the
But
last
this-
few episodes have definitely been the middle of the season is definitely weaker.
Yeah.
But this has definitely been a real banger.
Yeah. Because like we started off this season with like a lot of like family stuff. A lot of like
yes.
Yeah. Oh,
character
but that
stuff.
was great.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the family stuff. Well, some of the family stuff. I'm not talking about Robert.
But we also had what do you call it? We got to see Kellier again. Kalar, sorry. So you know we got that. We got the episode all about Data talking about his lovely day.
We had that thing with Tasha's sister.
That's right.
Oh yeah, man, that is wild. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We had the excellent what do you call it? The excellent episode about Beverly getting lost in a pocket universe.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was the season. On a side note, you guys, it's been almost 2 years since we started recording this podcast.
Wow.
Wow, we're old.
Yeah, we started, I think, either like September 17th or 19th. I don't remember. I'd have to check my notebooks. But yeah, almost 2 years.
Wow.
Wow.
Can't believe we've kept it up.
I know.
Yeah.
It's. I'm happy that we're still doing it.
Oh yeah,
It's
me too.
fun.
Yeah, my favorite was probably Picard's speech. His big speech near the end. That was really good. Yeah, that's the thing is like I love this episode. This episode's great. But like there's not a lot that I would say like, oh, that's my favorite bit. I love this bit. This stands out to me because it was just all
Good. Yeah.
yeah,
all
it
of
was
great.
Yeah, it was just all good and all solid, and it's just like a very enjoyable, interesting, quality episode from top to bottom.
I will admit, I had a hard time starting it, but once I like got into it, then I was like in it.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely agree that it is consistently strong all the way through. Like there isn't a weak point in this episode, which is real big of an accomplishment for TNG. Because TNG often does side stories within an episode to help pad it out, and this did not even do that. It dedicated 100% of its time to what it was trying to do.
Oh yeah.
And the one thing I'd say ended up bothering me about that in retrospect is, as somebody who is quite a good deal more left than when I first saw this in the 1990s, it definitely screams like a little bit Americanized, like liberalism.
Oh,
and
yeah.
my thoughts on it are very much like when they're doing the how it's very like, ooh, but like the principles of the Constitution and of freedom are the most important things in the world. I'm like, because I have an attitude that what do you call it? Essentially, almost nothing in terms of like the rules that we make and the rights that we have for society should be absolute. And I'm not really going to go into detail about that because it is very, very complicated. And it's very open to being misinterpreted quite easily if I don't go into detail about it. But anyway, so yeah,
Only
the way they're
Siths
going
deal in
on about...
absolutes.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, this is Star Trek. God.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I mean, I think I agree. I don't think there might be some things, but there's definitely not a lot of things that can be applied universally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the way that I look at it. And the way that freedom is applied in this, unfortunately, as somebody who is pretty steeped in arguing with the right, it's clearly not something that that is the least politically neutral nowadays.
Yeah, and I think like as an example, and I think especially as Canadians, we're used to this. I think most countries outside of the United States are used to this, where it's like you have sort of like freedom of speech, like
Yes.
not like a literal like First Amendment freedom of speech thing, but like it generally you have the right to express your opinion and the right to speech and stuff. But in Canada, we also have hate speech laws, meaning that
Yes,
like
and actually
there's some
the
speech
majority
that
of-
isn't protected.
The majority of other Western countries that have free speech laws also have hate speech laws.
Yeah,
The United States is kind of considered an exception in that regard.
yeah,
There are some other countries that also like have the exception, but a lot of them are not the more developed countries. They're ones where the Constitution has not been standing for 200 years and it's been standing for like 30 at most.
mm-hmm.
But anyway, so in terms of like actual favorite moments, yes, I do have one in particular, but second one that is a runner-up. But the runner-up is the scene between Worf and Picard in the
yes.
in the meeting room.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about
because
that
as soon as
line.
Picard belts out, "That is not a crime, Worf," I'm just
So
like,
good.
oh,
great line.
yes.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, he's absolutely fucking right, and he has every right to be mad about it. And I do like that they make up at the end of the episode
Yes.
as well.
And I
but-
think sorry to interrupt. I just that reminded me of something. It's something I'm surprised they didn't touch on, and it's like Worf should know better than anybody that, like, not wanting to respond doesn't necessarily mean guilt.
He does, but Worf is also a conservative who's very concerned with honor and justice.
Yeah.
And he would very much consider not answering the question if you're innocent to be dishonorable.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm just...
I think it's in character.
Yeah, I think it's in character for Worf. What I was hoping that Picard would bring it up is what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah.
That's
fair.
It would have made sense for me, for Picard, to bring up Worf's situation as, like Mr. Worf, like, think about your own situation, like, you know, that's obviously not true. Like, you have personal experience with this.
But the other one is when they are interrogating the Klingon spy, and they finally catch him in like they corner him with what he's bullshitting about, and he just immediately, like, gets angry and starts belting out, "The blood of all Klingons has become water," and I'm just like, like, they caught you, but dude, just, like, sit there in quiet dignity. Don't start this.
Yeah.
It's such a villain move, but I found it really funny.
Yeah, it's like, well, basically he's like, I'm caught, so no more pretense. Just say, like, fuck these guys.
And that is it.
That's it. All right. So that means we're on to predictions for the next episode. So let me just pull this out so I get the title correct. All right. So the next episode is called Half a Life.
Half-Life 3 confirmed.
Well, this was in 1991. I think this was before Half-Life 1 came out.
Okay, it's the future, though.
Yes. Anyway, the episode is called Half a Life, and we have the return of Troy's mother, Loaxana.
Oh.
So Loaxana comes on board at the same time as another sort of... I don't remember if he's a diplomat. I think he's a scientist, but another guy from...
A dignitary of some sort.
Yes, another dignitary is on board, and they end up having a thing together.
Cute.
But things get complicated when it turns out that he comes from a culture that has an age limit. And people... meaning that they ritualistically kill people once they reach past a certain age.
What the fuck?
Yes. So the episode is her having a relationship with this man, but he is approaching his age limit.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And this is, like, baked into their culture. This isn't like they don't, like, secretly kill people. Like, everyone knows this is what's going to happen when they reach this age.
Oh my god, how do I make a prediction from that? Oh god. Well, number one, I guess Picard's happy she's has interest in someone else.
Yeah.
But I'm sure she says something to him that makes him uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. How do you think this plays out? What do you think the resolution is? How do you think she feels about this? About this concept?
I honestly don't know, because I could see it going one of two ways. I could see it being like her thinking, well, YOLO, we're gonna do all this shit now.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could see her totally being like upset about it and being like, well, why, like, commit in this if you're just gonna die soon? So I don't know what direction she would go in. I'm pretty torn for this. I have no idea although I feel like Troy would encourage her to, like, enjoy now and while they have, like, time, versus being like, no, don't invest your time in someone who won't be around. But I don't know, this is really hard. Oh god, she doesn't, like, decide to, like, go with him to his planet so that she could die at the same time as him? Or if she's assuming, what? Oh no, what if she's the age? What if she's older than him? Oh no, but she wouldn't go to the planet. She's like that age, then she would. Is it only? Oh god, I think I'm going a little overthinking it. I'm like,
let's just say, okay, just for, so don't spiral too much. They wouldn't force someone from a different culture to do this.
Okay. That doesn't help with my prediction, but it does give me like, they're not gonna force her. You know what? I'm gonna go the direction of that, okay, she meets him and she decides that like they're gonna YOLO. They're gonna just like get up to a bunch of shenanigans and behave like they're young, and just like Troy is embarrassed of her mom as usual.
More than usual.
Yeah, and she just is like, listen, I like this person's company and we're gonna do this for as long as possible. But then she thinks maybe I can convince him to like not go back to the planet and die. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm going with, because I have nothing else. I have no idea.
Okay. Well, if you'd like to see if Dory's correct, watch along with us and join us for the next episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.